Alrighty, folks, we've got a roadmap roundup. The roadmap has been updated for Star Citizen for the first time for a new update in a little while. So it's actually pretty interesting. We got a new PvE focused kind of possibly instanced gameplay area, the return of underground facilities, new weapon, a couple things interesting to look at. We've also got the roadmap, the monthly report here. We're going to go over that in a little bit. Keep an eye out for that one. But like this roadmap roundup should be pretty cool. Let's jump into it right away. Thank you for joining me. If you guys like little news drops like this about the game, consider dropping by some more. So this will be the first of 3 roadmap roundups this month of July. And in this one, we're seeing a couple finishing touches to 4.2.1. That is new hairstyles and the new global event. We've talked at length about that. And that's old news now, even though it's not even in the live build. Now, it'll be live probably next week. I think they might actually drop it in the middle of the new player thing. Or it sounds like people actually have been hinting at it happening this week. I might just be behind on the times and the news. Your input has helped shape this update in meaningful ways with many improvements. Meantime, blah, 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 thanks, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't see anything about it going live this week, but I thought I saw some thumbnails about that. Anyways, the roadmap roundup's got 4.2.1 finishing up, missions on the collection side, improving Wickelow's missions. There's things to say about that. We'll save that for another video. Got the new Strata armor. I'm imagining this will be coming in its own kind of default skins and versions at some point soon. But 4.3 is the big part of this update. And boy, oh boy, cooperative zones. These are not an event, not a sandbox like a contested zone, but the opposite, where investigation, puzzle solving, and cooperation with players around you will make completing objectives easier. And we have seen a little bit about what this could be. If you go back to, you know what? I'll just throw this in. If you go back to Destination Adventure, really the only time we've ever seen them show us puzzles in the PU environment. And that was the sort of cargo focused puzzles. Let's see if I can find the... There we are. These are kind of like platforming puzzles that they had us doing. And who knows if it will really, if it'll be anything like this. This was supposed to be in the distribution center and it never happened. Whatever we get won't be this. But I would keep an eye out for things that have to do with the tractor beam. Everything that you look at when they talk about like doing puzzles and interacting with the world to change things around in order to like move forward, you'll see it generally centers around the multi-tool interacting with something. That's I think it's going to be a big staple of Squadron 42 is a whole bunch of using the multi-tool to move things around, to platform, to complete puzzles. I think we saw something like a little more gravity based here at one point. Also at some point we'll have cutting coming from the multi-tool. Like the multi-tool and also the tools that'll work based off the same functions as it, like the tractor beam tool, the max lift, the salvaging tool, all that kind of stuff. I think they're going to be using a lot for this kind of more incorporated gameplay. So yeah, cooperation, who knows just how this will work. It could turn into a place where people are shooting at each other. It depends on if this is going to be open world. Is this going to be something that's instanced? I do think this could be where they start testing out instanced PvE areas that they originally said were coming to Area 18, but I think the underground facilities are perfect for this kind of thing. I actually thought that what they would end up doing when they first talked about underground facilities is split them off as their own servers. Instancing them, basically the same thing because they don't have to do any sort of loading procedure to instance beyond a door. You know, it's kind of like the instanced hangars. You don't really know you're going into an instanced space. It just is. And we'll see how that works. I'm interested in what the plan is here, but I don't think that they're going to be open world, because if they're open world and they're cooperative, even if it was an armistice zone, let's say, you're losing your tractor beam. You're losing any ability to salvage or move boxes around, besides just shooting your gun. And that's what I think the problem would be overall with making PvE star systems or anything like that. Is you lose a lot of that industrial gameplay as well. So we'll see where this goes. But they are going to take place in abandoned underground facilities, if you heard me talking about, located on every moon of the Stanton system. These enormous multi-level structures are used for the new cooperative zones coming in Alpha 4.3. And if you go to the actual page where the roadmap is posted, you will see just a little bit more detail added to these posts. Located on every moon of the Stanton system, these enormous multi-level structures are used for the new cooperative zones coming in Alpha 4.3. The Onyx facilities are the top secret research facilities where Dr. Jorrit performed his most egregious and unethical tests to address the regen crisis. These abandoned facilities are divided into 3 wings, each with their own series of challenges, dangers, and discoveries to be made. Now, they're going to have an abandoned underground facility on every moon in Stanton. And they are definitely being wrapped into one of the stories ongoing in Star Citizen in 2025. But I do believe these will change at some point and be scattered to different companies with different lores. I think this is their chance to create a whole bunch of content at once, make it all narratively link into a storyline, and introduce one of the most important location archetypes in the game. I'm not even going to call it subtle. It's not subtle. Like, this is a big drop, and I think anybody who's been around for a few years at least is kind of recognizing the significance of it, maybe at least hoping for the significance of it. I'm going to take you back to one of the more fun videos to go back and watch. Journey to 4.0, my friends. We're going back. So this was a look at this. Back then, Inside Star Citizen was very much focused on what's coming up. What are they working on? From what's being polished in ship development all the way back to what concept art are we developing for locations. This video was a concept art video. Now, this was also part of the digital CitizenCon in 2022. So just to give you an idea of how CitizenCon worked when it was digital, this is how it'll be this year. But here's a little explanation they have for why they were changing underground facilities at the time.
Original underground facilities. Now, the problem was we made these originally for the CitizenCon presentation demo, and the time we had wasn't enough to kind of take the location where we wanted it to be. Now, it kind of fits the current purpose. It's fairly small in scale. It gives a multi-room layout opportunity for FPS combat, but we always knew we wanted it to be able to scale, you know, small, medium, large, to accommodate maybe 60 minutes of gameplay time per location.
All right. So combine that with what this is, which you can tell is obviously what turned into distribution centers. And you start to see that this whole initiative might have become something else. You'll see a couple of screenshots here that look like the places we know. But ultimately, these distribution center locations were split out from the underground facilities that they were a part of. And I think that these locations are being delivered in waves. I do think that these underground facilities aren't going to be connected to these distribution centers we know, but I also believe that they represent just another archetype of what will eventually be the bottom of a distribution center. Now, look at this. This is what we know up here. This is the top of the elevator. This is where distribution centers missions take place. But down below, once you go down an elevator, it opens up to these large industrial areas where you have passageways, very Half-Life, to be honest, in nature. You have these passageways around here. You have technical areas, places where maybe there's been science or experiments being done, some kind of areas that are meant for more procedures, technological areas, just things that are actually supposed to go underground and not be that exposed. You also then would have these more abandoned areas where mining might take place. These were hyped, and it was actually kind of cool because we got to see they went pretty far. God, I don't even know which one it is. I think it's try this one. They went pretty far with these pretty quickly, to the point where like they were in the white box stage walking around in the facilities. And I don't think this ever necessarily disappeared. I think some of it did turn into other assets we've seen. But what we could be seeing here is the beginning of underground facilities coming back into focus. If you go to the 1.0 locations branch, I think, are underground facilities on here? They have utility tunnels, and they have building interiors, which included underground areas. Maybe underground facilities is no longer on here, but I don't think it's out of the plan yet. And we might actually be seeing that start to sneak its way in with this addition. I'm going to do more research on it and cover it more in depth in a video on the main channel, but that's my first reaction to seeing this. It's looking good, but I'm interested in seeing what the cooperative zones actually will be and how they'll work. Might be related to those neutral zones we saw in the monthly report last year. Now, there's also a laser sniper rifle coming from Volt. This is one that we've talked about plenty. I actually have a video coming out about this in not too long. This showed up in concept art from years ago, but it's this one here on the bottom, I believe. We'll be seeing that drop in 4.3. Sniper light armor. This one's coming from the Star Citizen dressed to impress, dressed to wear to dress, dressed to kill panel from last year at CitizenCon. This one right here, I'm guessing. I think they sneak peeked this helmet, so I'm imagining it's this armor. Not sure it's going to have any of its benefits that they list here as being part of the reasons you would wear it, but I do imagine at some point this stuff is going to matter, and this is the suit that's being built into the game. Have that be a factor. FPS scanning is supposed to be going into testing soon, and these are the kinds of things they need to have in before the feature gets put in so that all of it works together when they're ready to drop it in. We've also got a new medium utility armor. This is one they've talked about that got delayed out of 4.2.1. We'll have to see why it's a utility armor specifically. Also some new hairstyles, ladder improvements. Those are going to be coming in from CitizenCon 2023. I think first person panel, I want to say. And this is another one of the things that they were supposed to kind of be aiming to get in 2024 and didn't really. Better movement in this game is definitely something we need because it can be a bit miserable. They did some of the updates, but we still need the prone animations. We still need the EVA push and pull, and we need these ladder improvements that they talked about. Basically, it'll allow you to look around while you're on a ladder, aim in different directions, just have a lot more freedom to actually control yourself because movement on the ladder in this game is awful. You can't even decide if you want to get off at a certain point. AI FPS turrets, adding anti-personal turrets for players to avoid or destroy, providing additional PvE challenges. This also could be part of the beginning of security becoming a little more intense. Hopefully they'll add these turrets to cities at some point. Mission pickup on location, enabling missions to be discovered and added to journals when you approach or enter a designated area. That's important because we really need to be able to pick stuff up when we get to a place. It's a simple feature, but it's something that can be used to, I think, quite an effect in a game like this when you get to cities, outposts, caves. That could be useful. And then an upgrade to Wicklow ships. I'm not too crazy about the fact that these are coming in only in Wicklow. I think ships like the Golem definitely need to be purchasable via UEC, so I might make a video about that. But this ultimately was your roadmap roundup. First looks at 4.3. I'll have a video going over all the stuff on the main channel in a little more detail. But a good first look. Hope you're as excited as I am to get these new underground facilities and something going on there. More to come in the following month. Thanks for checking this out, folks. See you in the next one.